Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're tackling something pretty specific, pretty interesting actually, converting your 401k into physical gold and silver.
Hmm.
We're using a guide by Doug Young as our starting point to explore how this all works.
Right. And for you, the learner, what we really want to do is break down this guide, not just read it out, but help you get the nuts and bolts of it, so
Exactly.
you can walk away understanding if adding precious metals might maybe cushion your retirement savings against, well, all the economic uncertainty out there. Clarity, that's the goal.
Absolutely. And Doug Young's guide, it really points to this growing interest in tangible things, assets you can actually hold. It gives a step-by-step method.
Hmm.
Our mission here is to pull out the really crucial bits, the key takeaways you need to grasp if you're even considering this.
Okay, so let's start with the big why. Why are more people looking at gold and silver for their retirement funds now? What's behind that?
Well, the guide suggests it really boils down to a search for stability, especially when markets feel, a bit choppy like they have been.
Right, seeking safe havens.
Yeah. People want assets that might hold up when stocks and bonds are bouncing around. Doug Young even uses that famous Warren Buffett quote.
Oh, the one about fear.
That's the one. Gold is a way of going long on fear, and it has been a pretty good way of going long on fear from time to time. Makes you think, right?
It really does, and it highlights two key things, I think. First, yeah, that potential protection against inflation and market volatility.
Hmm.
But second, just the appeal of something tangible. Unlike a stock certificate or a bond, you can physically possess gold or silver. That has a certain psychological comfort for some people.
Though it's fair to say they don't pay dividends or interest like stocks or bonds, right? Their value is more about perception and supply demand.
That's a very important distinction, yes. Their value isn't generated internally. It's based on market sentiment and their role as a store of value.
Okay, so let's walk through the actual steps Doug Young lays out for converting a 401k. Step one seems foundational. Choosing a trustworthy Gold IRA company and an experienced custodian. What's the difference? What do they each do?
Okay, think of the Gold IRA company as like your main point of contact, your facilitator. They're the ones who will help you set up the account, handle the money transfer, maybe even guide you on picking the metals.
Gotcha. The project manager almost?
Sort of, yeah. Now, the custodian, they're the specialized financial institution. They actually hold the assets. They ensure everything follows strict IRS rules, especially regarding storage. They're the official gatekeeper for the IRS.
The guide says the Gold IRA company often recommends a custodian they work with, but you can choose independently. Is sticking with their partner usually easier?
It often is, just practically speaking. They probably have systems set up, smoother communication, maybe faster processing.
Thanks.
But, and this is important, it's always smart to do your own due diligence. Check out any custodian yourself. Doug Young's guide mentions his analysis of companies. That could be a decent starting point to see who they partner with, too.
Right. Okay, step two. Opening a self-directed IRA. This isn't your standard IRA, is it?
No, not quite. A self-directed IRA or SDIRA, it just gives you broader investment choices, way beyond typical stocks and bonds.
Like precious metals.
Exactly. Precious metals, real estate sometimes, private equity,
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. The key is flexibility. And the guide notes, helpfully, that the Gold IRA company usually handles most of the paperwork, like 95% of it.
Oh, that's a big help. Less admin headache.
Definitely takes some burden off you.
Okay, step three then is funding it. Moving the money from the old 401k to this new SDIRA. The guide mentions direct and indirect rollovers. What's the difference there?
Okay, so a direct rollover, that's trustee to trustee. Money goes straight from your 401k plan administrator to the new IRA custodian. You never touch it.
Simple, clean.
Exactly. The guide calls it simpler and safer, and it generally is.
Yeah.
Less risk of tax problems. An indirect rollover means they send you the check.
Oh.
Yeah. And then you have just 60 days, a strict 60-day window to deposit that exact amount into the new IRA.
60 days seems tight if anything goes wrong.
It is. And if you miss the deadline or make a mistake, boom, potential taxes and penalties. So while it offers maybe a bit more flexibility in theory, the risk is much higher.
So direct is usually the way to go.
For most people, absolutely. It avoids those potential traps.
Yeah.
And the guide emphasizes your Gold IRA company should be guiding you carefully through this step.
Makes sense. Okay, funds are in the SDIRA. Step four, the exciting part. Choosing the actual gold and silver. What are we talking about here? Coins, bars.
Both, typically. Coins and bars are the common forms. When you choose, you'll look at Purity, weight, and the cost, obviously.
And the IRS has rules about what kind of gold and silver qualifies,
Oh,
right?
yes. Very specific rules. The guide states gold needs to be at least 99.5% pure. For silver, it's even higher, minimum 99.9% pure.
Wow, okay. So no, just grabbing any old gold coin.
Nope. Needs to be investment-grade fineness. Again, this is where your Gold IRA company should help. They know the rules. They know which products meet the IRS standards.
Good to have that expertise. All right, final step. Step 5, storage. Where do these bars and coins actually live? Not under your mattress, I assume.
Huh. Definitely not. Not if it's in an IRA. The IRS is very clear. The physical metals must be held by an approved custodian
Okay.
and an IRS-approved depository. Think Fort Knox, but, specialized facilities for this purpose.
Yeah.
Highly secure, insured.
So storing it at home is completely out.
Absolutely forbidden for an IRA. The guide stresses this. Doing so risks massive penalties, even getting your whole IRA disqualified. You'll need to talk with the custodian about their specific depository options and the costs involved.
Okay, that covers the process. The guide also gives some tips for investing safely. One is education, really learning about the market. What should people be tracking?
Yeah, staying informed is key. You need to watch things that affect gold and silver prices, the global economy, inflation trends, currency values like the dollar and, geopolitical stuff, big world events.
History matters too, I guess, seeing how prices reacted in the past.
It provides context, definitely, though past performance is never a guarantee, as they say. It links back to that other Buffett quote in the guide.
Which one?
The best investment you can make is an investment in yourself. The more you learn, the more you earn. It applies here. Understand the market you're entering.
Good point. And the guide also mentions diversifying within precious metals, not just gold.
Right. Think about maybe including some silver alongside gold, or even platinum or palladium, which the guide touches on.
Different metals react differently sometimes.
They can, yeah. They have different industrial uses, different supply-demand factors. So spreading your investment across a couple of them might potentially smooth out the ride a bit, manage risk.
Okay, important to cover the downsides too. We need balance. What are the main risks or things to really consider carefully here?
For sure. The guide points out several. First, price volatility. Gold and silver prices can swing, based on all those global factors we mentioned. They aren't guaranteed to always go up, especially in the short term.
And they don't produce income, like dividends.
Correct. Their return comes purely from price appreciation, if any. Second risk, costs. There are those storage fees we talked about, insurance, annual account fees. They add up. And third, and this is critical, regulatory risk. Those strict IRS rules on purity, storage. Messing up can be costly. Penalties, disqualification.
Which really underlines the need for good advice, right?
Absolutely. Working with knowledgeable companies, both the IRA company and the custodian, is pretty essential to stay compliant.
Okay, the guide tackles some FAQs too. Big one.
Yeah.
Can you actually move your 401k money into gold without getting hit by penalties?
Yes, you can. If you do it correctly, using those rollover rules into a self-directed IRA we discussed.
So the process is key.
The process is everything for avoiding immediate taxes and penalties. Follow the IRS guidelines to the letter. Again, professional help is vital here.
What about the actual cost? Setting up and running one of these gold IRAs, what kind of fees are typical?
The guide gives some ranges. You might see a one-time setup fee, maybe $50 to $300. Then annual admin fees, perhaps $75 to $300 a year.
Okay.
And then the storage fees, which are usually a percentage of your metals value, often somewhere between, say, 0.5% and 1% per year.
Got it. And just to hammer this home, storing the IRA, gold or silver at home, ever okay?
Absolutely not. Never. The guide is crystal clear. IRS rules are crystal clear. It must be in an approved depository via your custodian. Home storage equals big trouble.
Right. And lastly, is it just gold or can you do this whole process for physical silver too?
Oh yeah, definitely silver too. Same process. Open the self-directed IRA, roll over the funds, select silver that meets the IRS purity standard, that 99.9% mark.
So you could hold both gold and silver in the same IRA?
You certainly could. And as the guide hints, doing that, holding both, might be a good diversification strategy within your precious metals allocation itself. Spread the risk a bit more.
Okay, let's try and summarize the main points from this deep dive. Based on Doug Young's guide, what are the absolute essentials?
Well, I think it comes down to this. Converting a 401k to physical gold and silver is definitely possible, but it's a multi-step process demanding real attention to detail.
Security and rules seem paramount.
Totally. Security, strict IRS compliance, and understanding it as a form of diversification for your retirement savings. Finding the right partners, the Gold IRA company, the custodian, is job one.
Mm-hmm.
And then getting the rollover right, choosing compliant metals, and ensuring that secure approved storage. These are all non-negotiable parts of the deal.
So thinking about all this, here's something to leave you, our listener, with. Considering how gold and silver have played roles in economies and personal wealth for, well, centuries, how might adding tangible assets like these potentially reshape your own long-term financial picture?
Yeah, and maybe what further digging into global economic shifts or the historical role of these metals could help inform your decision on whether this makes sense for you.
This discussion, drawing on Doug Young's work, hopefully gives you a solid starting point.
Definitely. We'd encourage you to check out the resources mentioned in the guide. Really think about your own finances, your comfort level with risk, and what you're trying to achieve long term before jumping in.